Welcome to Introduction of Neurobusiness. This video will explain to you some basic facts about the brain anatomy and also cognitive neuroimaging methods that we use in neurobusiness studies. Nowadays, more and more the word neuroscience pop-ups in various aspects of life. Knowledge of the brain has entered the mainstream everywhere from education to business and even to pop-up culture. The Disney Pixar movie Inside Out is just one example of how ordinary talking about the brain has become. It seems like everyone knows something about neuroscience these days. To put it simply, neurobusiness is a field of study using neuroscience technology or neurofeedback and the application of human cognitive neuroscience in business research. Why we should study about neurobusiness? First, because the nature of neurobusiness itself, that the biological response do not lie. It can reach human unconscious mind and can take inputs from the biological process happening in the brain and skip all the external factors and ego. With the neuroscience approach, it can also overcome the difficulties in business research. So, because it is difficult for traditional research to capture the emotional reason underlying consumer preference or decisions, and it is difficult to remove subjectivity and ambiguity in research. With the neuroscience approach, it also can overcome ineffective business research, like eliminate inaccuracy or bias of traditional marketing research results, and more effective to get objective data than traditional market research, and also tendency toward pleasing the interviewer. There are several neurobusiness functions. First, it can better meet unmet market needs and market potential. Apply in market research, product development, and communication strategy like ad testing, product experience, logo, design, product design, packaging design, taste testing, film casting. It can guide marketer to just make the right, effective, and efficient product design, packaging, and ad message to boost sales. And it can explain consumer perception, emotion, preference, and motivation to predict their behavior. Also, neurobusiness function can be used in neuroscience of decision-making process and also to assess the customer service. It can also measure the employee satisfaction and loyalty. Also, you can use this neurobusiness in leadership coaching and training. Actually, the main point of this neurobusiness is about our brain. The brain itself is a complex set of over 86 billion neurons, and it's all communicating to create all our thought, behavior, and function. In order to try to organize the brain, scientists have divided it into three main sections: the brainstem, the epic system, and the cerebral cortex. First, the cerebral cortex, or we call it neocortex, is the third and the outermost layer of the brain. Many mammals have this part of the brain, especially larger mammals like dolphin, large apes, and elephant. But the complexity of the human cerebral cortex is often the basis of what distinguishes us from other mammals. The neocortex is divided into four lobes: occipital lobes, temporal lobes, parietal lobes, and frontal lobes. Occipital lobes acts at the lower back part of the brain. This lobe is responsible for much of the visual processing that occurs. Next is temporal lobe. This is on both sides of the brain. These lobes help us with abstract thinking, metaphors, and language. Next is parietal lobes. This is spanning a large area at the top of the brain. This lobe is important for processing sensory details and coordinating and planned movements. Now, The last is frontal lobes. This is at the front of the brain, this lobe that is sometimes credited with making us uniquely human, as it controls executive function and emotional regulation. This all may sound a bit too abstract, and you might be thinking what this has to do with business and leadership. But this is the core base of everything we do as humans, employees, and leaders. The next part of the brain is the limbic system. The limbic system is the next layer up sitting on the brainstem and is sometimes called the mammalian brain. Evolutionary speaking, this part of the brain came into existence around the time of mammals. The limbic system is important as the emotional center of the brain. There are many other complex functions and structures in the limbic system, but we will touch on only a few of them. There are several parts of this limbic system. First, thalamus. This structure receives sensory information and sends it to other parts of the brain to be processed. Next is hypothalamus. This is a link to the endocrine system. This structure controls the feelings of hunger, thirst, fatigue, and temperature. Next is amygdala. These structures help in the processing of emotion, most notably fear. It also plays an important role in memory formation about pain and body reaction to the environment. Next is hippocampus. This is part often thought of as the memory center of the brain. The structure stores some memory, but mostly helps memories to be formed and stored through the brain. Then cingulate cortex. This part sitting on the top and linked closely with the limbic system. This area of the brain is important for attention and awareness of the environment. And the last structure in this limbic system is nucleus accumbens. This is a series of structures sometimes considered to the reward center, but has an important role in dopamine and oxytocin. Dopamine itself helps reinforce rewarding behavior, while oxytocin helps to reinforce bonding and trust-based behavior. Habit formation and learning patterns are also processed here. And then the third part of the brain is the brainstem. The brainstem is located at the base of the brain or at the top of the spinal cord. It is often called the reptilian brain as it is the oldest part of the brain. In an evolutionary sense, this part of the brain regulates signals coming from the spine, is critical for breathing, heartbeat, sleeping, eating, and other necessary aspects of life. The cerebellum is located behind the brainstem and is important for timing and coordination of movement. And actually, in the brain itself, there are two operating systems that works in the brain. The most famous theory in the behavioral science world was popularized by Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman and described the process of thinking fast and slow, otherwise known as System 1 and System 2 thinking. This two-system model has been widely adopted due to its simplicity and intuitive nature. Kahneman's model divides the mind process into two distinct systems. System 1 is the brain automatic, intuitive, and unconscious thinking mode. It requires little energy or attention, but it is often bias prone. System 1 is more influential and guides our day-to-day decisions. However, System 2 is a slow, controlled, and analytical method of thinking where reason dominates. Unlike System 1, it requires energy and attention to think through all the choices. It will filter out the automatic instinct and bias to make the best choice. In essence, System 2 should monitor our System 1 thought. However, System 2 thinking can produce poor results or irrational results. As humans, We consider ourselves to be rational creatures and therefore assumes we spend most of our time in System 2. However, we spend almost all of our time in System 1. System 1 continuously creates impression, intuition, and judgment based on our daily routines. When faced with a decision, we automatically go with our System 1 thought. System 2 thinking occurs when faced with a new situation or if we make a conscious effort. Our brain simply chooses the easiest path rather than working more. To further explain, think about walking into a convenience store. We often automatically head to one aisle to pick out our favorite snack. We put the cart into the choice and didn't stop to consider other choices. This is System 1 thinking. System 2 thought get involved when we stop to think about all other food and beverage choices. Final step. When all goes smoothly, which is most of the time, System 2 adopts the suggestion of System 1 with little or no modification. You generally believe your impressions and act on your desires, and that is fine, excellently. Market researcher often wrongly assumes that respondents answer with System 1 thoughts. Through we think with System 1, we utilize System 2 to answer market research questions, since they are unfamiliar. Psychological researchers found that the more complex the research collection, the more responses are generated by System 2. Market researchers must challenge themselves to create surveys and other research methods to generate automatic responses, eliminating System 2 thoughts. Actually, in neurobusiness, there is a several branch that consists of neuromarketing, neuroleadership, neuroeconomics, neurooperation management, and neuroentrepreneurship. Okay, now we first talk about neuromarketing. Neuromarketing is the application of neuroscience to marketing. Neuromarketing includes the direct use of brain imaging, scanning, or other brain activity measurement technology to measure a customer response to specific marketing stimulus. This data might be more revealing than self-reporting on the survey in focus group. And marketing analysts will use neuromarketing to better measure customers' insight. This knowledge will help marketers create marketing strategy more effectively and marketing campaign focus more on the customer brain's response. In neuromarketing, we measure our customer attention level, emotion, memory, preference, engagement level, trust perception, and their interest level. The application of neuromarketing itself, it can be used in ad testing, product experience, logo design, product design, packaging design, test testing, and casting. This is the example case of the first neuromarketing research. Samuel McClure and his fellow have decided to study on Coca-Cola and Pepsi because consumers were having strong preference over one another. Although the formulas are almost the same, with this came the question of will cultural message affect our opinions enough to change the behavioral preference about something as simple as sugary drink. Researchers have served the participants Coke and Pepsi, first adding mostly, and two refilling their brands in both behavioral testing tasks and during fMRI scan. McClure and his cohort have noted that a constant neutral response is observed in the subject ventromedial prefrontal cortex when the drinks are served anonymously, and that when participants knew what they were drinking, it hugely affected their brain activity as well as their behavioral preference. Brain scans reveal that the choice of Coke or Pepsi does not solely depend on their taste, but also their label, since this information activates cerebral areas related to cultural influence. Therefore, the researchers believe that they have proved neurologically how brands influence behavioral preference when they have cultural affections. The reason for this, according to the researcher, is that there are visual image and marketing messages that have insinuated themselves into the nervous system of humans that consume the drinks. Thanks to its design, The study allowed the researchers to see clearly which cerebral areas are activated when the brain information is available and when it's not. They have also witnessed that while knowing that the drink is Pepsi does not change anything, the case with Coke is different. When participants are told that the brain is Coca-Cola, that dramatically affected the preference and also activated the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and hippocampus, both of which are known to change the individual's behaviors depending on emotion. This led the researcher to think that hippocampus might be responsible for recalling that cultural influence affecting preference. They also believe that the result of the study implies that there are two interacting brain systems in the prefrontal cortex, one for taste and one for recalling cultural influence, and this interaction is what determines the individual's preference. As a result, it is clear that neuromarketing analyzes help marketing experts to improve the knowledge about customers and the behavioral attitudes and improve the overall marketing performance of the company in several ways through the information obtained from the study. Next example is the example of you can improve your packaging with using neuromarketing approach. The example is Campbell soup product. They improved the packaging using eye tracking and transformed the boring packaging into new packaging by add the color code in the different varieties of soup section to help customers distinguish them more easily. And then they add steam evac to make more engagement in the soup lukewarm. And then they removed the spoon because people thought it was unnecessary and had little emotional response to it. And then they update the bowl. And last one, they put the logo in the bottom because a tracking study shows when the logo was placed at the top, it drew too much attention. And the red background also make all the labels look too similar. Next example for neuromarketing is in 2009, Frito-Lay launched pack version of all their snacks like Doritos, Cheetos, Smart Food, and many more healthy options to appeal to the female audience. The company noted that despite women snacking twice as much as men, most of its customers were men. Women snack on salty products only 14% of the time, and this PepsiCo own division want to know why. To understand how to rebrand the product, they turned to neuro-based marketing. Frito-Lay's appointed advertising firm Juniper Park, led by Jill Nicolation, start using fMRI or brain scans to understand the response of their consumer brains. Research showed that women's brains had more developed communication centers, which implied they could break down complex advertising messages with more ease. They had more significant activity in their hippocampus associated with memory and emotion. Interestingly, women also had heightened activity in the anterior cingulate cortex associated with decision making and guilt. Women are more likely to experience guilt than men. Despite launching products with words like guilt-free, snacking women were avoiding this product because of an unconscious negative association with the word guilt. Most of the study focused on specific aspects of the brain. Hippocampus for memory, the nucleus accumbens, which is the pleasure centers, and the prefrontal cortex for higher thinking, which determine consumer choice. Miss Nicolation asked Frito to develop ads that target women to understand what they like. They asked women to journal 2 weeks, which showed that women felt more guilty in most aspects of their lives as compared to men. So instead of focusing on guilt-free eating, which reminded them of the word anyway, the company drew its target customers' attention to the positive aspect of the product. These advertisements aim at removing the word guilt from the marketing. They wanted women to believe that the snacks were healthy. The product had image of spice and healthy ingredients. The product line was entirely consistent with pack snacks. Consistent with their marketing campaign, they created an image of healthy snacking. Neuromarketing was also used to check aspects like the packaging. So instead of shiny pocket, now the package had a matte finish. The colors such as beige, fresh greens, light blues were chosen to draw the attention of female customers. The study showed consumers had a more positive response to seeing matte packages and bright colors. Realized research-based marketing helped it transform its emotional messaging and connection with the women consumer. The campaign was so successful in 6 months. So the PR program gained over 195 million positive impressions, double of the expected goal. Women's next trips down the aisle increased by 1.8% with record-breaking sales from smart food. Okay, now we will discuss about neuroleadership. Neuroleadership is an emerging field of study neuroscientific knowledge into the area of leadership development, management training, change management, education, consulting, and coaching. This will help organizations create brain engaging environment that optimize engagement, performance, work satisfaction, and ultimately productivity and results. From a neurological perspective, many of today's workplaces become extremely threatening environments as a result of the few currently autocratic leadership offer increasing demands, constantly changing goals and expectations, information overload, poor communication, and the fear of punishment if a mistake is made. People are often in constant neurological fears that when optimal performance is simply not possible. We have to change the way we manage our own stress and the way we lead and influence our people. If we can understand the brain, we can have a better understanding of the behavior of the people we work with, as well as discover ways of making the workplace a better place to be. From a neuroleadership perspective, we learn that the brain organizing principle is to minimize threat and maximize reward, and so we don't consciously plug in a way to avoid threat and bring us pleasure. David Rock came up with the SCARF model: status, certain, autonomy, relationship, and fairness to help remember the areas most affected by threat or reward. The SCARF model helps both managers reflect on their own performance and inform their future action with a view to keeping the balance on the reward side of the equation. By applying neuro-based leadership, leaders can create brand-engaging, high-performance cultures where people are able to thrive and excel in the few colors place. By applying the principles and practice of neuro-based leadership, leaders can empower their people to function as their very best by considering and managing some of the neural processes that precede behavior. While changing behavior is often difficult, neuroscientific research confirms that rewiring our brains and changing our behavior is indeed possible. By practicing the principle of neuroleadership, we can become the catalyst of a brain-engaging workplace culture. The outcome of applying the principle and practice of neuro-based leadership enable leaders and managers to improve their capacity for boosting individual and organizational performance, creating brand-engaging workplace culture, building high-performance teams, effective communication, effective decision-making and problem-solving, creative thinking, constructive collaboration, fostering employee engagement and motivation, facilitating and managing change, dealing with workplace diversity, managing conflict, and managing personal stress and dealing with constant change and adversity. Okay, now we will discuss about neuroeconomics. Neuroeconomics is an interdisciplinary field that seeks to explain human economic decision-making process by integrating social, cognitive, and emotional factors. It studies how economic behavior can shape our understanding of the brain and how neuroscientific discoveries can constrain and guide economics models. Neuroeconomics adds another layer by using neuroscientific methods in understanding the interplay between economics, behavior, and neural mechanism. It combines research from neuroscience, experimental and behavior economics, and cognitive and social psychology. Several aspects in neuroeconomics. First, loss was risky and uncertain choice. There are many theories of choice under risk and uncertainty. Let's look at this risky choice theory and ask what computational mechanisms in the brain are likely to implement these theories and what neural processes are interesting. The goal for economics, of course, is to understand the mechanism better, to produce interesting prediction and permit causal experiments. Second is loss aversion. Loss aversion in decision was inferred from human choice between monetary gambles with possible gains and losses. However, there is also evidence of loss aversion in monkey trading, taken for stochastic food rewards in associated evidence of endowment effects in monkey. The first fMRI study showed comparable neuroactivity in several value-related brain regions during evaluation of gambles in response to increase in possible gains and reduction in possible losses. It is found that to gain activity in the ventral striatum and loss activity in the amygdala and temporal lobe region lateral to the striatum. Third is final aspect. The simple standard conception of what makes assets risky seems to match with everyday investor perception. What investors feel is risky and price in asset markets might be classified further by looking at the brain's definition of risk. Emotional concepts such as fear and irrational exuberance are prominent in everyday discussion of market but do not have a clear counterpart in financial theory. It is possible that tentative evidence about this construct from brain activity could inspire further theorizing and broad empirical tests of field data. And the last one is time preference. The biological basis of time preference is a right topic for neuroeconomics. There's association of future valuation with regional brain activity. The valuation of future events creates the neural capacity to encode what those future events mean. And now we'll discuss about neurooperation management. Neurooperation management contains neural activity, idea, emotion, mood, mentality, effort, and perception. And it optimizes the whole process of production, manufacture, build, and operation according to object status information and subject status information. The concept of neurooperation management is an interdisciplinary subject of cognitive neuroscience and industrial engineering. It studies human cognition and uses advanced neuroscience and biofeedback technology to measure psychological response in order to acquire data for further analysis, which provides insight into people's mental states without subjective consciousness control. Then this data people's neuroactivities with psychological and psychological states in the production process are applied to operation management to improve process for workers. The main decision areas in neuro operation management are procurement, design, production, process management, workload, quality assessment, location selection from production facilities to sales, optimal capacity planning, workplace layout, efficiency, and so on. And the last aspect in neurobusiness is neuroentrepreneurship. This incorporates the interior characteristic of the entrepreneur to study the neural basis of innovation. It investigates pre-entrepreneurial decision process and the cognitive and emotional process underlying them. Innovative solutions from product design and development to website design also explored in this entrepreneurship neurobase. And this neuroentrepreneurship is based on the management ability that involves rational analysis and emotional thinking. In both cognition that seems to occur in dorsolateral and in orbitofrontal area of the brain's frontal lobes. So I think that to social neuroscientists, beliefs are the key building blocks of the symbolic level. Yet at the same time, we find that cognitive processing at the symbolic level also influence the development of belief reciprocally. While they often focus heavily on the neurological origins of human belief and belief structures, social neuroscientists argue that understanding the belief are the key leverage point in understanding human cognition and thus human action. If true, it makes it even more important for entrepreneurship scholars to learn more about those deep beliefs that drive entrepreneurial thinking and from whence they derive. From there, we can now assess entrepreneurial learning in ways that move far beyond learning facts, from learning about entrepreneurship to learning to be entrepreneurial. Practical value of the entrepreneurship is it can assess experiential entrepreneurial learning. So I think that's all for the neurobusiness part 1. See you on the neurobusiness part 2. Thank you.